What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Thursday, January 18th, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 3:02 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we currently have U.S. nuclear forces on high alert. We have three nuclear war command and control planes up in the air, and we had over a dozen emergency action messages broadcasted in a 1 hour period from between about noon to 1 p.m. And this is all happening just a day after Pakistan launched a retaliation strike on Iran last night. And I did live coverage last night of that situation. I was live for 3 hours. So I want to update you on the latest going on in Pakistan and Iran. I want to update you on Ukraine and NATO. So tensions are soaring between Pakistan and Iran after Pakistan launched a retaliation strike on Iran last night, supposedly targeting some anti-Pakistani terror groups. And this was a response to a strike by Iran on western Pakistan 2 days ago, supposedly when Iran targeted anti-Iranian terror groups in western Pakistan. So I personally don't believe that. I don't believe that Iran targeted these so-called terror groups in western Pakistan. I honestly believe they just randomly lobbed missiles into western Pakistan for whatever reason and maybe hit some civilian areas. And then Pakistan retaliated by doing the same thing, also claiming that they hit some anti Pakistani terror groups operating in Iran. So the situation is escalating, and China started military maneuvers near Taiwan last night. And remember last week that Taiwan elected a new president who is strongly against reunification with China. And NATO is going to be starting their largest military exercise since the Cold War next month in February, involving 90,000 troops from basically every country in NATO. That is absolutely huge. And the U.S. launched another operation into Yemen last night against the Houthis, targeting 14 ballistic missile launch sites. And this came just hours after the Houthis launched a missile or a drone at an American owned ship in the Red Sea. And they actually hit the ship. The ship caught fire, but it didn't sink the ship. It didn't injure anybody, but the ship was damaged. Okay. And Israel launched a powerful airstrike on southern Lebanon today. And apparently, it was so powerful that the blast was heard in Beirut, okay, the capital. And Ukraine launched drones at St. Petersburg, Russia, earlier this morning, targeting an oil depot. And this was the first time that Ukraine has ever sent a drone that deep into Russia, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. They also flew a drone over Putin's villa in Valdai, which is near St. Petersburg. And yesterday, due to Russian electronic warfare systems operating in Kaliningrad, half of Poland was left without GPS. And the World Economic Forum is continuing their meeting this week. It's going to end tomorrow at noon. Today is the last full day. And I want to read to you something from the World Economic Forum website that was very concerning to me. And it was just a description of this year's meeting and what the goals are for the meeting. And it said, at a time when global challenges require urgent solutions, innovative public private collaboration is necessary to convert ideas into action. Okay, so they're talking about bringing together governments and corporations to put ideas into action to deal with global challenges requiring urgent solutions. So, this is very concerning, guys, okay? And this is the beginning stages of a one world government, one world currency, and the mark of the beast. Okay. And right now, we have reports coming in that the Islamic resistance in Iraq shot down an American MQ-9 drone near Baghdad. And apparently, there was another drone attack on the U.S. airbase in Erbil. So we have a lot of stuff going on. Let me just show you guys these nuclear war command and control planes. So we have one that just took off from Tinker Air Force Base, and it's heading southwest towards San Antonio. We have one right here that just took off from Tinker Air Force Base, okay, just a few minutes ago, right around 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we have one here flying over the Dismal Swamp area in Virginia. So 3 in the air right now. We had one up in the air earlier that just landed not too long ago, probably around 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It landed. So our nuclear forces are on high alert. NATO is kicking off its biggest drill in decades. Like I said, 90,000 troops expected to participate. Absolutely insane, guys. And this could be a cover for a deployment of NATO forces close to Russia. Just like Russia says that we're doing an exercise and then they move like 100,000 troops into Belarus and right next to Ukraine, and then they leave them there, okay? And that's probably what NATO is going to do to a certain extent. And the UK is going to be moving 20,000 troops into Eastern Europe for this exercise. And apparently, this is the largest deployment of British forces outside of Britain since 40 years. Okay, in 40 years, they have not moved that many troops outside of Britain for any reason. Okay, and they're going to the Baltic countries and Poland, supposedly for this exercise, but I think it's a permanent deployment. Here we have a picture showing GPS jamming in northern Poland right next to Kaliningrad. Apparently, Russia was either testing or just operating some GPS jamming electronic warfare systems. And you can see the red colors here representing areas where GPS signals were having issues. You can see pretty much all of northeastern Poland and northern Poland. Okay, so this is very concerning, guys. Russia's testing systems that they could use against the Polish military and NATO forces in the event of an invasion. Okay, so very, very concerning. And here we have some footage coming out of Baghdad showing apparently a U.S. Chinook helicopter rushing to the site of the MQ-9 drone that was shot down by the Islamic resistance in Iraq. So there it is right there. And I want to just read to you a little bit more about the situation in Pakistan. It looks like Pakistan and Iran are basically at war. Pakistan conducted an operation in the southeastern part of Iran known as Balochistan last night and supposedly hit 7 anti-Pakistani militant camps 40 to 50 kilometers deep into Iran. This came just hours after Pakistani fighter jets were spotted patrolling the Iranian border and after the government urged Pakistani civilians to evacuate the border region with Iran. Pakistan also had put out a notice to mariners that they were going to be doing live fire exercises yesterday and today. Both Iran and Pakistan are claiming that they struck terror groups that were plotting against their respective countries. But how do we know that this is not just a cover story for a random strike on civilian areas, which is what I think is going on here? And Iran is now demanding Pakistan's immediate explanation and summoned their ambassador. The Pakistani Foreign Ministry said the Prime Minister of Pakistan will shorten his visit to Davos for the World Economic Forum due to tensions with Iran. The Pakistani government will hold an emergency meeting of their National Security Council tomorrow to discuss the border tensions with Iran. Russia is calling on Pakistan and Iran to exercise restraint and resolve issues through political and diplomatic means. The European Union expressed its concern about the escalation of tension on the border between Pakistan and Iran. The Iranian MP for Balochistan, that's the area where Pakistan launched the missiles into, said there is no truth to Pakistan's statements regarding the presence of anti-Pakistani groups in the province. So he's basically accusing Pakistan of lying and that the strike was purely against Iranians or an Iranian village. And here we have a statement that was put out by the Pakistan Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They called this Operation Marg Bar Sarmarchar. This morning, Pakistan undertook a series of highly coordinated and specifically targeted precision military strikes against terrorist hideouts in Sistan-o Baluchistan province of Iran. A number of terrorists were killed during the intelligence-based operation codenamed Marg Bar Sarmachar. Over the last several years in our engagement with Iran, Pakistan has consistently shared its serious concerns about the safe havens and sanctuaries enjoyed by Pakistani origin terrorists calling themselves Sarmachars on the ungoverned spaces inside of Iran. Pakistan also shared multiple dossiers with concrete evidence of the presence and activities of these terrorists. However, because of lack of action on our serious concerns, these so-called Sarmachars continued to spill the blood of innocent Pakistanis with impunity. This morning's action was taken in light of credible intelligence of impending large-scale terrorist activities by these so-called Sarmachars. All right, so this is the official statement here. They're officially claiming responsibility. And here we have some footage from last night of the missile launches from Pakistan. So this was filmed in Pakistan somewhere. Looks like they used some kind of a surface to surface missile. So things are really spiraling out of control, guys. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, they have brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewith.nyprepper.com. The link is in the description below this video. But this 3-month emergency food supply is freeze dried, so it has a 25-year shelf life. And it's all contained within 6 rugged water resistant buckets, and free shipping is included. So again, use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply. It's really a no-brainer. 25-year shelf life. You don't have to worry about your food preps going bad. You don't have to worry about rotating anything. And it's all contained within 6 buckets. So you can find the space to store 6 buckets, guys. And they also have a general store. If you click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com, you can access their general store, and they have all kinds of prepping and survival items for sale. They have MREs, they have survival seeds, they have potassium iodide, they have survival bars. So check it out. Preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video. So this is where the strike occurred in southeastern Iran, very close to Pakistan, in the town of Saravan. Okay, there's literally nothing out here but deserts and mountains, and there's this tiny little town called Saravan. Okay. And that's where they launched the missiles at. Apparently, they hit 7 targets, okay? And several U.S. defense officials stated yesterday that there is intelligence that the Houthis in Yemen are planning imminent attacks against U.S. bases in Bahrain, Djibouti, and the UAE, as well as on U.S. naval ships in the Red Sea as retaliation for the joint strikes on January 11th by the U.S. and Britain. So this is very concerning, guys. And the White House said today, we do not want Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon, and that Iran's strike on Pakistan is another example of its destabilizing behavior in the region. So, guys, like I said, this is all about Iran. It's not about the Houthis. It's not about Hamas. It's not about Hezbollah. It's about Iran. Okay, they're trying to link Iran to all these groups and build a global consensus to strike Iran and denuclearize them, demilitarize them. And just a few days ago, the U.S. Central Command posted some pictures of this boat that they seized coming from Iran going to Yemen, loaded with advanced conventional weapons and components for them. Okay. So they're trying to link Iran to the Houthis, to Hezbollah, to Hamas. And it's possible that the U.S. could launch a massive strike on Iran very soon. And Biden said that the operations against the Houthis will continue. He said Iran and Pakistan's mutual attacks show that Tehran is not accepted by anyone in the region. And the Israeli defense minister said today, we must prepare for the deterioration of the security situation on the border with Lebanon. And this came just a day after they had these massive rehearsals for an invasion of southern Lebanon. Okay, the IDF reserves conducted a massive exercise the last 2 days for an invasion of southern Lebanon. Okay. And Lebanese officials told Reuters that Hezbollah rejected ideas from Washington for peace by withdrawing its members from the border. So Hezbollah basically said, no, we're not going to move our forces away from the Israeli border, rejecting any proposals for peace. And Netanyahu said today that Iran is behind the Houthi and Hezbollah attacks. Okay, so another major leader connecting Iran to the Houthis and Hezbollah. Okay. He also said the conflict in Gaza is not over the establishment of a Palestinian state, but rather the elimination of the Jewish state. And he said, we want a demilitarized Gaza. We are committed not to end the war without absolute victory. Stopping the war before achieving all goals will send a message of weakness. And Afghan media is reporting an explosion near the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. And here we have a picture coming out of southern Lebanon of this massive strike that occurred earlier today by Israeli forces on Hezbollah positions. And here you can see an Israeli fighter jet flying over southern Lebanon. And the Iraqi foreign minister said that Iran has internal problems and is trying to export them abroad. And the Turkish Defense Ministry said that they may carry out new operations in Iraq and Syria if necessary. They recently attacked the Kurds a few days ago in multiple strikes. And the European Parliament adopted a resolution urging the formation of a naval mission to protect navigation in the Red Sea. Okay, so the European Union has officially adopted a resolution calling for a naval mission into the Red Sea. Okay, so the EU is now getting involved. And the Danish foreign minister said, we will join a coalition of 6 countries to confront the activities of the Houthis. And the Yemeni foreign minister is demanding an international security force to help control all areas of Yemen, including the Houthi-controlled areas. Basically, he wants help from the rest of the world to kick out the Houthis and eliminate them, okay? And the Iranian Foreign Ministry said that returning the Houthis to the terrorist list is an unconstructive measure by Washington and raises tensions. So, in case you guys missed it, yesterday, the U.S. officially relisted the Houthis as a terrorist group, and Israel launched a massive airstrike on southern Lebanon that was heard in Beirut. And Israeli air defense intercepted incoming rockets in Eilat in southern Israel. That's the port city in Israel, in southern Israel. And here we have some footage of the air defenses in Israel intercepting some rocket or missile that was heading towards Eilat. Okay, earlier today, China has begun military training maneuvers around Taiwan, and this comes just a few hours after the Taiwan Ministry of Defense announced that 24 Chinese aircraft and 5 Chinese naval vessels were detected around Taiwan, okay, yesterday and today. So, very concerning, guys. And Japan has signed a contract with the U.S. to acquire 400 Tomahawk missiles with deliveries anticipated next year. Okay, 400 Tomahawk missiles, guys. That sounds like a preparation for war with China or North Korea. Okay. NATO said Russia obtained missiles from North Korea and drone technology from Iran. The British Foreign Minister and former Prime Minister David Cameron said the current situation is similar to the 1930s when the West tried to appease Hitler. And he said that the war in Ukraine remains his absolute number one priority. And drones attacked Russia's St. Petersburg for the first time since the start of the war, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Russia says the drones were targeting the seaport and were allegedly shot down over the city. And the local airport in St. Petersburg temporarily stopped flights. And a drone flew over Putin's palace near St. Petersburg in Valdai. And this is being reported by an intelligence source. And last night, all flights were grounded temporarily in Moscow's Vnukovo airport. And school children in Russia are now being prepared for drone attacks. A military officer came to a school in the village of Kuban in Lipetsk region and showed kids how to behave when a drone attack occurs. And Russia is now using upgraded cruise missiles against Ukraine to try to defeat their air defenses. The Russian X-101 missiles used in recent strikes on Ukraine differ from those used in 2022. They now feature a radio electronic warfare system, active defense, and heat traps, according to the speaker of Ukrainian intelligence. And Biden has reportedly decided to toughen immigration policy to deflect criticism and secure Ukraine aid. This was reported by the Wall Street Journal today. And the U.S. Senate may take up the Ukraine border security package next week, as announced by Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, according to The Hill. In the coming weeks, Ukrainian Prime Minister Shmyhal will meet with the Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico to discuss the 50 billion euro aid package for Ukraine from the European Union. Now, Robert Fico is pro-Russia and anti-Ukraine, so this is going to be interesting. Looks like they're going to try to negotiate something. And the Russian separatist Igor Girkin has been sentenced to 5 years in jail for his posts on Telegram, which Russia says were extremist calls. Okay, so Igor Girkin, the former leader of the Donbass militias in the early days of the Ukraine war back in 2014, he has now been sentenced to 5 years in jail in Russia. And Russia has been hit by its biggest civil protest since the start of the war in Ukraine. Apparently, 10,000 Russians took to the streets, and violent clashes broke out over the jailing of an anti-war activist. Riot police and demonstrators were involved in battles, and a number of wounded were reported at the protest in the small town of Baymak, Bashkortostan, a rural region of Russia near the Ural Mountains. The protest was sparked following the jailing of a prominent anti-war activist who was sentenced to 4 years in prison for inciting hatred. Photos and videos taken of the protest showed protesters throwing snowballs and lumps of ice, and police responding in kind with tear gas canisters. And Romanian farmers have again blocked a border crossing with Ukraine at Diakove Halmiu, and a Russian patrol ship was sunk in Sevastopol. Apparently, Ukraine was responsible. And here we have some footage coming out of Crimea, and apparently half of Crimea has been plunged into darkness. You can see this entire city here completely dark, and all you can see are the headlights from vehicles. So we don't know what's the cause of this, but presumably a Ukrainian sabotage operation, possibly. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon below so you get notified when I post these updates. But guys, the situation is continuing to spiral out of control in the Middle East. Now we have Pakistan and Iran at war, and I do believe that there will be some kind of response by Iran to Pakistan's strike last night. So that's going to escalate more and more. And we do have U.S. nuclear forces on high alert right now. So that's the latest information that I have. So I'll see you guys later tonight. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.